Welcome, everyone, to episode 8 of Modcast VR, the official podcast of the Flat VR modding community. I'm Dr. Greg. This is my co-host, Vran. I never remember which side he's on. V-Ran?
I
never remember.
That one. Yeah.
Is it that one?
No, it's the other one.
Is it the other one? Okay, I can never remember. And we're excited today because we have with us Fmpone, the modder from the new Levitation Half-Life Alyx VR mod, which is, I gotta say, one of the most amazing mods I've ever played. So, welcome, FM.
Thank you.
I don't know. What do we call you for short? Just Fmpone, or are we just Sean? Just call you Sean? Okay, Sean works. All right. This has been, I think, 5 weeks now, Fran? I think it's 5 weeks since we've done our last show.
5 weeks.
So I think really the way this has been working out, I know at the beginning we were able to get one in every couple of weeks, but just finding modders to get on the show and get it all set up, I think really just to kind of expect maybe more like once a month. You know, and this is such a niche in VR anyway. I mean, it's not so we don't have all the new VR games to talk about, all that kind of stuff. We just have mods. And I know this isn't a flat to VR mod that we're talking about today, but it's a mod that's worth talking about. I think a lot of people want to hear from Sean. So, so I'm really looking forward to this. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with some brief news today. Let me bring up my little thing here. News. There's not a ton of news. And I know that I've said this in the past, but if you ever want to get a great source for Flat to VR modding news, check out the Flat to VR Twitter. It's amazing. Elliot puts a ton of stuff on there, more than I actually talk about in here. I just kind of hit the highlights. So, but anyway, without further ado, let's get started here. First thing I got to bring up, now this has nothing to do with VR modding, but it hit the news last night and I was like, whoa, what the hell? John Carmack is leaving, or resigning from Meta, which is kind of crazy. This guy is like a legend in VR. So I don't know what else. Did you read about that at all?
Yeah.
How about you, Sean? Did you read any of that?
First I'm hearing that.
Yeah. He's done. He's left. He put this big explanation on. It was on Upload VR. They had a big explanation. Then I saw there was a video, and he was just tired. He said he was weary of the fight, and it looked like he was really tired of. Sounds like the guy was really underutilized. You know, he's just amazing, and I think he was tired of fighting with all of the corporate BS that he had to deal with to try and get anything done. It sounded like at first I was reading, he said that it was hard to understand what he meant with this, but I think he was just being metaphoric. But he was like, you know, it's just insulting or something like that to see only a 5% GPU utilization. But I think he's like talking about how they just weren't doing enough to move fast enough at Meta. And he's moving on to what I think he's doing, the generalized AI thing. So he's getting ready to take over the world anyway.
Yeah. He's going to do it.
That AI stuff has been kind of crazy lately. People are all up in arms about the Lenza app and artists and all of that. And I could understand. I mean, I did that just for fun to try it out. I got 100 unique portraits in varying styles in 20 minutes for $12. So yeah, I could see why, you know, human artists would be like, whoa, wait a minute now.
Yeah.
You know? Because I do a lot of like art, like pencil graphite portraits. Yeah. And you know, one portrait about the size of this iPad takes like, you know, 3-4 hours to do. So yeah, it's just insane. But
it's insane.
I think people.
Have you tried it, Sean?
I messed around with like Chat GPT and
that's awesome too.
The other ones where you can give it a prompt and it makes a portrait.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely the future. I don't think you can fight it.
No, nope. I think the best thing to do is just to learn how to integrate it, learn how to work with it, because it's 100%. Coming. It's not going to go anywhere.
And
you
in
know,
fact, it's just going to progress more and more. There's even AI tools for animation that I'm checking now. It's pretty amazing.
yeah, it's
Um,
nuts.
it's just
Well, I was watching people use that
it's
GPT chat thing just as like,
yeah,
okay, I want to code this and this, and this is what I want it to do. Click, and
yeah,
it gives them the code, and it
yeah,
breaks it down, gives them explanations of what each piece of code does. Like, this is
yeah,
insane.
yeah. I have a good friend who is an animator. We work together. His name is Brian, and he recorded himself to the ChatGPT what he wants Maya to do, and he wrote the script for him. And then he showed how he just said, "I want a bouncing ball to bounce on Y axis, and then bake the channel." It's just like very simple, but he did it, and it wrote. It wasn't. I don't think it was a Mel script. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I need to check this video again. He did it. And then he showed in Maya how he just drags it. You can see a sphere bouncing, and then you can see all the keys baked.
God, it's crazy. I watched another guy create a website that way. He just had GPT chat just put the code in, and he just pasted it. Boom,
no.
instant website, and it was beautiful.
Oh my God. Yeah.
This is what excites me about something like GPT chat. I don't know if it can actually happen. I don't know. I am not a tech bro. I don't know anything about tech except, the fancy stuff I put on my new PC, that type of thing. But I mean, I'm playing an open world game, and every NCP or NPC, it's connected to GPT chat. And, so you could just give them basic, okay, this is what they do for a living. And then all of a sudden AI just writes their whole story, and you could have like real conversations back and forth with them. Yeah. It would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. Like NPC dialogue from a chat GPT prompt. Very, that actually might have some merit.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought about that. It's like, geez, just think about that. I mean, any open world game I play, the NPCs are pretty much like, watch where you're going. They all say the same thing. So that could like completely change things. You could just sit down and end up, developing relationships with just your standard Joe standing on the street.
Yeah. Just say you are a character in a video game who lives in a red house and, drives a yellow car, and you're grumpy. And so when the player tries to talk to this character, they'll be in a bad mood, and they'll talk about the red house and their yellow car that they're standing right next to. That's actually really interesting. I never really considered that.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I need a job in programming.
So there's two amazing things. One, you know about Karmic now, and two, you have an idea for.
Aren't you glad you came?
Mod.
There you go. All right. So we'll get.
That's definitely practical use right there.
Yeah, cool. All right. So I'm glad I put that out in the world. Okay, we'll get off of that now because we could talk about that stuff forever. This is exciting. Luke Ross is releasing a new version of his mod. It's going to have Grounded in it, which sounds like that would be amazing in VR, with all the giant bugs and everything and running around. I've never played Grounded, but I think that sounds exciting. And it sounds like, I don't know if we talked about this on the last show. I don't know if we even knew about it. Yeah, I think we did kind of briefly talk about it, but we didn't know a lot about it yet. But he is working on a alternate eye rendering 2.0, which basically, how when you use alternate eye rendering in VR, if you're getting 90 frames per second, you're only seeing 45 frames per second in the headset. I mean, that's just the way that works. The way the math works, it splits it up. But with this, what he's doing, and don't know what he's doing with it, but with the AER2, what he's doing is it basically reverses that. So it's adding frames in somehow or another. So it gets rid of all the ghosting and everything that you see. He has had a great video with Tifa fighting in the tunnels in Final Fantasy VII. And it might be a little hard to see when it's in motion, but if you pause the screen and you look at her mid-air with just regular alternate eye rendering versus AER2, it's night and day. There's like the double image and everything of her in the regular alternate, and the other one looks crisp and clear, no double imaging and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, since he's doing that, I think he says there's a lot of work to do on it. So he's doing it in incremental bits, and Final Fantasy VII Remake will be getting the first alternate eye rendering 2 treatment. So I'm really excited about that. Obviously, what I want it for is Cyberpunk. So, I mean, I'm already getting amazing results. I've got a new PC now. It's got a RTX 4090 with an i9 13900K, and bumping up that resolution and everything has just changed the game so much. And I'm getting insanely good frame rates, so it's made the game so much smoother. It's like playing a whole new game. But being able to use alternate eye rendering 2 will be even better. Because then it'll get rid of the ghosting, which you still have some ghosting. It's better, and I've noticed the haloing has practically disappeared. You know, that kind of shimmery stuff around the outsides when you get up close to people. That's almost gone completely. So yeah, it's really cool. I can't wait for that. Speaking of great modders, Dr. Beef has teased a mod for the Pico 4, and it's got a lightsaber in it. So I'm assuming it's probably his Jedi Knights. He didn't really say what it was, but I'm guessing that's probably what it is. So that's cool. I don't know anything about the Pico 4. Do you, Sean? Have you used that at all? Or
in the little devices, it looks interesting.
Yeah, we can't get it in the States, right? I think it's only sold overseas. I guess suppose we could have it shipped in, but I saw that they were complaining about, in some article, they were complaining about that they just weren't seeing the numbers they want to see, and they want a bigger, they want more sales. I'm like, well, you could start selling it in the States. That would probably help.
Yeah, it would.
People are just dying for a Quest competitor. Hey, this isn't on here in the news, the Flat VR news, but you see HTC is getting involved now. Back into the consumer market. It looks like they're building a Quest competitor. They're teasing that, so that'll be really interesting to see. Because when they were doing headsets for the consumers, they were nice little headsets. The Vive was great. I like the Vive better than the Rift, the CV1. And the Vive Pro was awesome until it crapped out on me, and then I got the Index. I never went back, but
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Speaking of Star Wars, somebody named Procedural is working on a Battlefront 2 VR mod, which looks really good. I've just seen some teasers of it. That game looks pretty insane. I've never played it, but anyway, so there's that. Grant Bagwell is released up to Chapter 3 now. Is that it, Fran? Have you heard? Three? So that's
not 4 yet. I can't wait for 4. 3 is out.
I'm holding off until the full thing is released because I want to stream the game, so I'll just do it that way. But
what game is it?
Bendy and the Ink Machine. Have you played that one? Never heard of it?
No, heard of it.
It's really cool. It's kind of a cartoonish styled game.
Like a horror,
but it's horror. Yeah.
Very stylized.
Lots of
graphically.
The first chapter is all I've played, and that was mostly just puzzles. There wasn't really any action or anything like that. There's a couple little jump scares, but apparently it gets a lot more intense and a lot scarier the farther you go. So
yeah.
Oh,
the third chapter is long.
Is it?
It was about it's long. The first one is very short. I think it was the demo as well. That's how you got the demo. So it's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is not as exciting. Chapter 3 it's starting to be really, really great and long.
Sweet.
So chapter 4, let's see.
Yeah. How many chapters are there?
I think 6.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Sweet. Well, that's going to be out then soon, hopefully. All right. And then the last little bit of news that I put on here, the Callisto Protocol apparently is working with Praydog Injector.
Praydogs.
So now.
And what else? Which one?
High on Life. High on Life is working with it, which I'm excited for too, to try.
I really want to.
I know it's tempting not to get it now, but I just want to wait until I can play it in VR. And because I'm doing that actually. I've been playing The Witcher 3. I just started streaming it flat just because I wanted to try it out. I've never really played the game, and I'm really getting into it and loving it. But I got to say, I think I personally, this is my plea out there again to Luke Ross. Please mod this. I mean, because I know he's already modded. He's already worked with the Red Engine modding Cyberpunk. So this seems like a no-brainer, and this game would just be absolutely glorious in VR. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hold off on it a bit and hope that happens. As far as Callisto Protocol goes, there's some people like Beardo Benjo, friend of the show, friend of ours. He doesn't think that would be a great game in VR, which because he said it's so melee combat oriented, and he says you get thrown around a lot, which he's probably right because he usually is, but I'm still going to want to wait and play it in VR. I think so there you go. High on Life, that was all we wanted to talk about. And Prey Dog, if you're watching or listening, gosh, we're really, Christmas would be a great Christmas present.
Yes. Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Because
that'll change our lives.
It will. We'll have so many games to play. I mean, right now it's a slim pickings. So.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for our news. Like I said, it wasn't a ton, but we just wanted to get a little bit in there. Okay, so Sean, you go. Fmpone is your kind of gamer tag or your modern name or whatever. This I noticed. I was reading somewhere, or maybe watching a video. I'm not even sure, but somebody talked about this is not your first source modding adventure. You've modded some other games too, correct?
Yeah, I've been involved with CS:GO pretty much since the release, doing custom maps for CS:GO. That's probably where the vast majority of people that follow me on Twitter or follow my YouTube or whatever know me from. So I had some success there, and that gave me a good foundation with Source. Although obviously with Source 2, there was a lot more to learn and new features and cool things about Source 2 that are unique to Source 2.
What have you done on CS:GO?
I did a competitive map Cache, which is probably the most famous thing that I've ever worked on, and that was in the active duty competitive map pool for a few years, and released a new version of Cache not that long ago. And I've done many other competitive maps and just custom maps for CS:GO.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been actually making custom maps and being part of the custom mapping community since I was probably 16. So
okay,
more than my life.
Okay, all right. Let's say you don't look like you're 30.
I'm 33.
Okay, all right. I figure that's probably right about where you're at. So it's crazy to me because I grew up in the Atari 2600 was the system, and everything that the younger people get to experience now. I'm so jealous. I always think, what would have happened if I would have had access to this kind of stuff when I was a kid? It's just crazy. So something I got to say as far as that goes is your level design and Levitation is just fantastic. It's better than it's better than a lot of games that I play that are just full games. And actually, a lot of those levels I think are better than the actual Half-Life Alyx levels. So I'm just wondering, do you have formal education in this, or is this just kind of a natural? You're just kind of a boy wonder genius.
Definitely not a genius. A lot of Levitation is a direct response to Alyx. It's I understand that Alyx was kind of an easing in process for a lot of, myself included. I was really the first big VR title I ever played. So, but even then I felt like there was room for improvement, or there was room for action set pieces or unique ideas that, Alyx is a great game. It's definitely, I think, the best VR game you can play, not to take anything away from Alyx, but I felt like even within Alyx, there was things that I would have done differently, or there was, I felt like opportunities that I could have, contributed to. So that's what I tried to do.
Do you when you do stuff like this, do you ever get job offers from people?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gainfully employed now, so it's not too much of a temptation. But yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's cool. That's cool. Because I just can't. Like I said, that level design just blew me away. It's so much fun. Where'd the idea for the story come from? The
So I really like mods that take themselves seriously. I think that's a fun experience for the player. It's not just like, oh, this is just some BS that we threw together. No, like I try to think about like, okay, so Valve may do their own sequel to Half-Life Alyx, and that's going to take the story in a yeah, exactly. I hope they do. That's going to take the story in one direction, right? But so what could we do as a mod team to tell our own story where it's going to not interfere with anything that Valve does? It's not going to override anything that Valve does, but it's going to seem plausible nonetheless. So our concept, or what I came up with, was what happens immediately after Alyx that can be self-contained. And so if anything Valve does afterwards, Levitation is just going to be the story of what happens to Alyx immediately after the events of Alyx. And that'll just be like a bubble in time. And so Valve can do whatever they want, and we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, that worked. It works really well too. You just take off. You end up right there at the end of basically the after credits scene from Alyx is where we start out. So that's really cool. Well, yeah, that's where we start out. Yeah. So yeah, I just remember when we get transported into that like kind of dimensional space area that reminded me a lot of Zim from Black Mesa. The floaty parts of land and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool. That's Brand. Go ahead and ask a question. I don't want to hog all the time.
Let's talk about Jeff for a second.
Yes. Spoilers.
No. Oh yeah, spoiler. Yeah. But let's not talk about Jeff.
No. Let's talk about him, but just carefully. Spoilers.
Yeah, this is probably going to be. I'm probably not going to censor myself too much in terms of spoilers. So, guys haven't played the mod that are watching this, maybe watch it later. But otherwise, let's just dive in and get all the spoilers out.
Like, for me, Jeff is probably one of the top 3 best experiences of video games ever.
Yes, absolutely.
Ever. So I'm wondering if when you played the game first time and you were in Jeff's world, is that when you said, I need to create a mod and put this guy in it? Is that what something? Because I think that when I was in it, I was like, oh, I want to do something with this guy. Like, it was just like, and I played this game a couple of times. I finished it a few times. And this level, I always keep a save file for that. And I always go back, even though I can do it like with eyes closed now. I love this level so much. It just, for me, Jeff is really the best. So my question is really, is it really something that it was in your mind the whole time to implement him in Levitation? Is it something that was just like, okay, let's add Jeff as well? And how the hell do you do that? How do you put that character with all his animation? I'm an animator by trade, so for me, animation is like number one, and Jeff is like, so to play around with him from behind the scenes and direct him to do what you want him to do, like, it's probably such a good accomplishment for you to do. It's such an amazing.
I think Jeff was probably. See, I'm conflicted on it because on your first playthrough, Jeff is like the most amazing experience.
Yeah.
And then I feel like on the second playthrough, in my opinion, Jeff is actually where the game drags a little bit because you know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a hard problem to avoid. And I don't think that I necessarily did any better of a job with it than Valve did. But so what I think it means is that that first impression, that first playthrough that you have with Jeff, it has to be really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll every time you'll play it afterwards, even if you kind of know what to expect, and if you're not quite as scared, you say to yourself, "Well, I'm still remembering that first time I played it, and it was really, really good."
Yeah.
So I tried to set the bar very high with that level.
Nice.
Oh my God, when he broke through that wall.
Yeah.
Oh, I needed a change of pants. I was not expecting that at all. And all of the hints were there. You had the stuff in the air that makes you cough and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was
thank you
great.
for reviving him.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Because somebody was saying something about Jeff. I was like, well, Jeff can't be in this. I killed Jeff.
Yeah.
Maybe this is his brother, James.
Yeah.
Well, like how we kind of solve that is like, I don't think that any of Levitation is real. Like, it's totally just the G-Man saying to Alyx, like, this is just a training simulator that you're going to go through 1,000 times. So here's Jeff again.
Yeah.
So, you know, when our Jeff level begins as a pretty strong ripoff of Resident Evil 2. The big guy what's his name?
Mr. X.
Oh.
Mr. X.
Yes.
He breaks through walls. I thought that was really good in Resident Evil 2.
Oh,
and
God.
We had a discussion on Twitter with this guy, Radiator Yang, Robert Yang. He's a really well-known level designer. And I was just saying, like, okay, I want to do a Jeff level, but, you know, what ideas do people have? What are good ideas that you've experienced that make a level scary? And so a lot of people were talking about Resident Evil 2, and he mentioned how you can set up a room that appears safe. So, you know, when you enter the room in Levitation, there's a weapons crafter,
Mm-hmm.
there's a greeting from Russell. So everything appears to be welcoming and like a safe space, and that's where Jeff comes in.
Yeah, man, that was great.
Perfect.
I like your Jeff level better than the Alyx Jeff level because it's just more involved, and I feel like Jeff is more of a threat in your level than he is in Alyx. And Alyx, yeah, you know, especially when you could just go and grab the gas mask and put it on. It's just a piece of cake to get through. You know, just up there, you go over there, Jeff. I'm doing my thing. You know, he's just really easy to get around, but. You know, having to grab those little grenade thingies and stuff from the those plants. And I don't know. I saw Max Cheese Fist. He was doing something. He was just like rubbing their neck and they just drop him. I was like, how do you do that? Every time I try that, that doesn't happen.
Max Cheese Fist?
Yes, that's Beardo Benjo's dad.
That's a really strong username.
It's a great name, right? Yeah, he's a great guy too. It's hilarious. But anyway, yeah, that level. Then of course I had that Tigger Lover Oof on my channel, and she had me convinced that I had to take those bombs and blow up those blue doors that Jeff was going through. You know, the blue walls. And so I just kept doing that. I was like, it's not working. It's not. I probably did that for like 15 minutes. Tigger.
Yeah, that was a risk we took with the Jeff level. Is like, in order to progress through that level, and this is, I don't know if this is clever or not really, but this is kind of what I wanted people to think that it was clever, is like, you use Jeff to progress through the level. So Jeff is almost like required presence to help you at the same time you're running away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you have to, you know, have Jeff break down the door for you, or you have to be in very close proximity to Jeff when you're retrieving things from the lockers. And I think that's why people maybe like the Jeff level that we did, I don't know about better than the one that's in Alyx, but they like it a lot, is because I designed these scenarios to be very tight. Like, you're going to interact with Jeff during our level. You're going to have him break down the door for you. You're going to have to be right next to him as you're retrieving things from the locker, because you're locked in the same room with him and you're making noise.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, when you kill Jeff, it's a more visible sequence than what was in Half-Life Alyx, where essentially what happens in our mod is you watch Jeff fall down.
Yeah.
And you watch him crash. Whereas in Alyx, you shut the door and it's kind of left to your imagination, which I think has strengths, but it also has pretty obvious weaknesses from a design standpoint.
The one nice thing about the Alyx one, though, is when you walk in and he's all squashed and then it farts at you. That's pretty hilarious. Oh, Jeff. Yeah,
the second gameplay,
level.
I didn't kill him. I decided to keep him alive.
That's an achievement, I believe. I think the first time I played it, I didn't kill him. I didn't know you could. I didn't even think about it. I just locked him in there.
Right. So maybe it's canon that you see him again because he's not technically dead.
There you go. For me, yes. It's my first playthrough was the only real one. The absolute best Jeff thing that's ever happened was the first time you play that game and you finally figure out to lock him in that freezer and you feel so accomplished. And you're walking around, you do your stuff, and then you're following the little thing with your, and then you realize you've got to go back in that locker. That is the big oh shit moment. It's like, no. That is one of the most brilliant things I've ever played in any video game. It was so good. So good.
Yeah. I really like that that room that they built in the original Alyx that's it almost looks like a wine storage, or like it's a distillery. So I guess it got a lot of barrels stacked. That was a really, really cool room. I was trying to figure out how to get the wheel crank off of the. I really like that. That's memorable for sure.
Yeah, that when you had to like snake it through that rebar that was all, that was tough. But once again, they did you a big solid by giving you a gas mask right there in that filing cabinet, because that was the thing I liked about your mod is that you didn't have that option. You had to cover your mouth. There was no gas mask there, unless I missed it.
No, I mean I tried to. Make the mod accessible, but some stuff just doesn't really work that well from a modding standpoint right now. So just hopefully Valve will continue to update the game. We'll see.
So because I think the other day I was playing it and I was trying to put on the hat and it didn't seem like it worked, and I just gave up really quick. Does that work in your mod? Can you put like the hard hats on and stuff? The
persistent issues that we're having is like covering the mouth. I don't know why it's not working in our mod, and I'm going to try to continue to figure it out. I implemented a workaround, but it didn't work. So that's probably one of the most stubborn issues that we're having right now. So
people are having difficulty with covering their mouth then? Mm-hmm. It seemed to work fine for me. I was just I've done it twice now.
I think it's broken.
Oh, is it broken right now? Okay. Nope. Yeah. Sorry. This guy. See, I told you he'd be joining. This is Pete. This is my buddy. He wants to be on my shoulders, but he's trying to snake around my keyboards. He's going to mess things up. So,
so that's one of the questions, eh, Greg?
Yeah,
is that one of the biggest challenges?
I think in the Jeff part, that was because I mean, like I said, there's sometimes I didn't have my hand up right, I guess. So and man, when you cough and then Jeff is right there, he killed me a few times. I wasn't expecting that, but I did play on hard. And as my quote in that game was, "Well, easy is probably easier." Did you? I sent you that short of me trying to get through that final boss. That didn't have near the deaths that I suffered in hard. That
was the second to last boss. I'm wondering how you did against a room full of combine that were charging you.
When I went in there, I literally had 3 little tiny blips in the middle of my last heart. So and I was playing on hard, so that health station didn't have a worm in it when I went down there. So I got down there and I was like, oh my God, this is all I have for health. So I would kill a guy and save.
Okay, that's a good idea. Save cheesing.
Yeah. So we call it limitless.
Limitless.
Because one of my guys that watches my podcast, Keith Limitless, he would he'd always remind me to save. And so, I'm pulling a limitless. Now, I've watched him play, by the way, and he does not save very often. So It's a big hypocrite. But
I think it started when you played Black Mesa.
Black Mesa, yeah.
That's when he was like,
such a great game.
Save.
Yeah.
You've played that in VR?
Yeah, I played it VR at Vorpex, which actually that's my favorite Vorpex title, their favorite game to play in Vorpex, because the direct 3D scan works so well. It feels and looks like a native VR game, and it plays awesome. It's so great. The only problem is there's something wrong with the shader and like the guns, so it flickers pretty much all the time. And I don't know how to fix that, but I didn't. After playing it a while, you don't even notice it because the rest of the gameplay is so darn good. So how long was this mod in development? It seems like it was like forever, because I know I've been waiting for it ever since I saw the first little teaser, and I'd heard a lot from people in Discord about it.
It took us a really long time. It took us 2 years, really close to almost to 3. So right after I played Alyx, it was hard for me not to just want to dive in and make levels. Like I said, I felt like maybe there was room for improvement, or there was opportunities that I could take. So, but there's aspects of the mod that took a really, 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 really long time, like designing the character discussion sequences. So first I would have to come up with the idea, come up with the writing, then we would do voice lines. Excuse me. And then we would have Corey Lato, who's my main partner on this project, animator. He would animate the sequences in Source Filmmaker. Then we would bring them into the editor. Then we would sync up the lines. And then one of the most laborious processes was actually lighting the character's face. So like if you see here, like I have a light that's shining here. So what I really wanted was for light to hit the side of the character's face and then the other side of the character's face to create like some interesting rim lighting. Mm-hmm. And that just took forever to get the values right, because once you changed one, it ended up changing another. So it was like kind of a tug of war to get those values correct. And the compile times are quite long on Source 2. So, little things like that add up, and as a process, you do that multiple different times. And then you design 8 levels, which is the number of levels we shipped with. So yeah, it was a laborious process for sure.
Oh man. Yeah, it's totally worth it. It took me at least 8 hours, I think, to beat that game. Like I said,
6 hours out of them was to finish the
final. Yeah, the second to last boss, I guess. I just couldn't consider the room full of combine bosses, but my biggest problem was, now the second time I played it on medium. It only took me 2 times to beat that boss, and I was using index controllers versus Rift S controllers. I was having weird issues with like actually grabbing the light bowls and stuff out of the little thingies. And a lot of times I'd accidentally push the button that would teleport me into those freaking lasers, cause you're using your sticks, and then all of a sudden you're just jumping right into the big lasers shooting across. And there's just so many man hacks, and you can't see them. You're like, you hear them, they're flying around. It's like, where are they? Where are they? There's just so much going on with all the light and everything. And then the next thing you know, you're dead. And
yeah, the experience is definitely designed with the index in mind, which sucks on the one hand because it's such an expensive device, and it's, not everybody can afford that, which obviously I understand. But that's what I use, so it's naturally going to be a little bit biased in that direction.
Yeah, it worked really, really well with the index, I noticed. So I just got those controllers because with my new PC, one of my favorite games in the world is Cyberpunk, and I play it in VR all the time. And I noticed in my Rift S, I was like, why am I only getting 80 frames per second? I mean, this PC is chunking out these massive frame rates, and all I can get is 80 frames. And then I was like, oh, it's because the Rift S only has an 80 hertz refresh rate. So, I took the index and bumped it up to 144 hertz, and I was getting 144 frames per second. So, that was pretty awesome. At least like just when we're sitting there idle. Now, once you start moving, it was still around 110 frames per second, which is great in Cyberpunk. So, the index. So that's why I ended up getting the controllers, because all I had was the Vive wands. And I was like, I don't want to play with Vive wands anymore. So
I love the index. I'm really impressed with the hardware that Valve put together.
It's still still the best, commercial headset you can get. Really, I still think it kicks the crap out of the Quest 2, even, which I'm just not a big Quest fan. I never have been. I know some people might not like me for that, but I just even when you're streaming PC games to it or whatever, then you go back into just a real wired PC VR headset like the Index, and it just looks so much better.
Yeah.
So
I think it's such an expensive device, but at least you're getting what you paid for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I only spent actually for the headset. That's all I got. So it was only $500 because I just used the Vive ones, and I already had the setup for the Vive. So that's all I needed to get. So if you're just getting the headset, it's fine. It's the whole kit that is pricey. How big of a team did you have on this?
So it was myself as the only level designer. It was Corey Lado as the human animator, so every human character he was animating. Then we had another animator named Kamagotsi, and he was doing all of the creature animations. So there's a scanner, there's an advisor, and there's a Vortigaunt, and he animated all of those. Everybody did great in terms of the animations. Really, honestly, thrilled with the job they did. And then we had a handful of people who were helping us because Valve released the level source files, but they did not release the model source files. So we essentially had to rip certain models from the game in order to animate them, which was really challenging from a technical standpoint. Excuse me. So we had to have a lot of help with that. And then we also had an individual who designed our logo, who I've known for years from CSGO, named Ansel, and he did a really good job with that.
Logo's great, yeah.
He's really, really, really talented graphic designer and level designer. We had a small team of probably 8 to 9 people.
That's pretty big for a mod, though, isn't it?
It is a big.
Usually we're talking to modders, they're like single guys or maybe 2 guys,
Yeah, I mean, I always try to keep teams small, especially because you don't know if there's going to be money coming your way and you're going to have to split it with everybody. But ultimately, this was just such an ambitious, challenging project that we had to build a solid team around it.
Yeah, you guys did great. I actually shocked that somebody, because I remember kind of seeing that in the credits that there was a creature animator, and I was like, God, didn't they just take these animations like just straight from the game? Because they looked so good.
Every single animation pretty much that we use is completely custom.
Wow.
And all voice acting is completely custom, and a lot of the sequences themselves are just totally customized.
Okay, so that actually leads me right into my next question, because one of the things that blew me away when I started that game is when G-Man was standing there in front of me just looking amazing, and then he started talking. I was like, is this really G-Man? And then I go on, and all of a sudden Russell's on the screen. I was like, oh my God, is that really Russell? I mean, so you guys had like just sound-alike voice actors? They weren't the actual voice actors that did this?
Yeah, we had sound-alikes, and then I went into Audacity and really tried to match things up really well in terms of the bass and treble and the equalization, try to get really close values. So what I did is basically just listen to Mike Shapiro's official G-Man and listen to our voice actor and just try to get them sounding as approximately close as possible.
Nice. Oh yeah, Russell blows me away. That one really blew me away. He does an amazing job. So Alyx, was that also?
We did not have any custom Alyx lines, which is more circumstance of how difficult that particular voice is to replicate. And obviously this is a male skewed demographic. I wish we had a lot more women involved, and we would probably have better products in general. But
I agree.
But yeah, so for Russell does a lot of heavy lifting in this project. Like he does a lot of the context setting, and he does a lot of the player instruction when players are getting introduced to puzzles. He's doing a lot of heavy lifting from a design standpoint to draw player attention to different design elements. So
yeah,
Russell was created by, I believe his name is Joseph Ade, and he does a fantastic job. His username is Slick Liquid, and he was really crucial to the project in general. And I think it's probably something that people overlook is like how much of a difference our Russell makes in the final product. So
yeah,
I got to get a lot of credit.
Awesome. I mean, Russell is one of my favorite things about the original Alyx game. So the fact that you found somebody, did you have like auditions for people to do voices or?
No, I had seen his work. I had seen Slick Liquid's work on with other projects, and I knew right away, like, we got to get this guy involved. And same thing with our G-Man. I felt like this is make or break. Like, we've got to get him involved. So I'm just super grateful and thankful that we were able to get the people involved that we really needed in order for the project to work.
That's the guy that did G-Man. Is he the one? Because I know that I'd seen something somewhere about one of the guys on your team was the one that does all the little animations from all the Valve source stuff. Was that him, the G-Man guy?
No, that's Corey Latto. He's like my co-lead on the project. And,
okay.
That was critical. Like, I had to land him to even stand a chance of having plausible human animations. So that's another person where just very grateful and thankful that everything fell into place to get him involved.
Awesome.
Nice.
Brad,
now, do you need to get approval from Valve?
No, I'm a ask forgiveness rather than permission type of.
That's why I'm divorced.
Yeah, I don't know if they like my project. I assume they do, but who knows?
Oh man, they've got to love it. It's so good. It's like, it feels like a literal just DLC. And mods like yours, was it Gunman Contracts? I haven't played that one yet, but I've heard great things. I played a little bit of the BioShock one, which is fantastic. These are the mods that keep the game alive, and give us more stuff to play, which is great because, us PC VR gamers feel a little bit wounded.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If I could just say a little bit on that, like, we were talking about the Index before, and, it really is a great device. But, if I can be a little critical of Valve, I think the software side on VR right now is hurting. It's really, there's not enough to play, especially when you're saying to people, do you want this super high-end premium $1,000 headset? I think if you're going to sell people that and you don't want it to become a extremely expensive dust collector in your closet, you have to meet people halfway and provide them with a lot of.
Got to give them something. You can only play Alyx so many times. I think I played Alyx 10 times in a row when I first got it. I just kept jumping back in and playing it. I put a lot of time in that because that's the first game I've ever 100%ed.
Yeah, wow. I mean, Alyx is like right now. It's kind of the only game you can play for VR that's of super high quality, which is kind of why we felt it was worthwhile to make more Alyx content with Levitation. But one thing, if you look at CS:GO, that game receives constant updates and gets a lot of love from Valve. And Alyx really has not received anywhere near that. So I think it's a consequence of the team kind of scattering after they ship the product. But I hope that Valve understands that a lot of people like myself were kind of expecting more of a constant update cycle, and it just hasn't materialized. So for myself, that's a bit of a critique of the job that Valve has done from a VR standpoint.
Yeah. What happened? I mean, because I know this was like right after Alyx launched, they were like, hey, we're working on 3 more AAA VR games.
Yeah.
And we've heard nothing.
That's the problem. That's the the value proposition for VR right now is not where it needs to be.
No.
And so I understand that is an issue, but judging from the outside, I'm not really sure that they do.
Yeah, see, that's why we do flat to
Wow.
VR, games. That's there's so much to play, and all of these modders just keep making games, and thank God for them because they're the ones that are giving us the value for our headsets.
Exactly.
You know,
100%.
We also modders need support from Valve, and we need to hear it. Any form of positive reinforcement, it goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Like Valve.
So you haven't heard anything from them then?
Just congrats. It's like, well, like
thanks.
let's put meat on the bones.
Yeah. No, we bring this up. We brought it up in other shows, but some people may have not seen the show before, so we'll bring it up again. We did an interview with Luke Ross, and we asked him about if he'd ever heard back from developers that he'd modded their games. And he's like, no. And then the very next day, he gets that DMC from Rockstar, where he has to take down all the Rockstar games off his mod and everything. They're like, well, it's our fault. We did it.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes Valve wants a pat on the back just because they're not that, and it's like that's so wrong. That I don't think you really get a lot of cookies and brownie points just because you're not doing that. That's just way wrong mentality.
Yeah, I really think that if you want people to keep doing that kind of stuff, you've got to. There's an old line that I can't remember who said this. Is some comedian, I believe. It says, "If you want your dog to stay on the porch, you got to pet it every now and again." Now he was referring to cheating, but it's it's the same thing,
Yeah. Yes, it is. Your modding community, if you're Valve, I mean that's easy to overlook in terms of the value that's added over the years.
Yeah,
but it doesn't just happen automatically. You do have to invest a little time and effort into making that a reality.
Absolutely. I mean, look at okay, so like Skyrim, for example. I mean, how old is that freaking game? It's still going strong. It's still constantly getting mods. There's so much content. I don't think you could play all the content available for Skyrim.
Yeah.
And
but look at Witcher
3.
The new update is all based on modding.
And look at what they did. They took those mods and they paid the modders and gave them credit for, do stuff like that. I mean,
and that was the sense of my question. That was what I wanted to ask Luke Ross. Not to get him the thing. Because he deserves to be like you guys deserve to be on a pedestal because you save the VR world. Really. You really do.
I've been saying for years how important modding is. It's crucial, and it's not just the fact that games like CS:GO started as mods and now they're making billions of dollars. It's also just the community that builds around the games, that coheres around the games, and that maintains like a game like Alyx without their community. I understand that it doesn't have as many concurrent players as CS:GO, but if you invest time into building a community there, it has a lot of dividends, in my opinion, long term. You have to be a long-term thinker when it comes to modding.
Yeah, I bet.
Nice, interesting.
Brian, do you have? I know you had a couple questions, or did you already ask them?
Well, Sean actually answered about the animation.
Okay, there you go. Yep, that was it. I forgot that. So as I mentioned, I played the game on hard, and I really appreciated it. Like I said, those final bosses. That's the first time I've about thrown my controllers, and since maybe this NES days of playing like Ghosts and Ghouls, but it was definitely the difficulty was ramped up, and that I appreciated that throughout the whole game because I remember, playing Alyx. I always felt, especially after I played Black Mesa in VR and Half-Life 2 in VR, and I'm like, oh, this is great. All of these enemies are just so much action. I always felt like we kind of they took it real easy on us in Alyx. So did you find a difficulty like getting the balance right?
Well, Half-Life games are usually not punishingly difficult. But I had just come off of playing like Elden Ring. So I was thinking, well, players can tolerate a lot, but really it's just very difficult subjectively to know like how, in general, it's a difficult problem gameplay balance to not be too frustrating, to not be too boring.
Mhm.
But I think in VR is even more so because
Yeah.
it's a physical medium and people have different reaction times and processing and it really, people are playing on different devices. Like maybe it's a lot easier on the Index than some of the Meta devices. So yeah, I think we've got the difficulty now to a reasonable point, but probably the very last engagement, there's continuing feedback that it might be slightly too challenging. So I'm gonna try to ease the burden there a little bit because again, it's not really in the character of Half-Life games to be too ridiculously difficult.
Yeah. No, well, it definitely challenged me, especially on hard because you don't have any health. Didn't feel like I had as much resin, but maybe I just wasn't seeing it. I don't know if you put less resin in or not. Less ammo, and yeah, it was tough.
Let's just say, Sean, that we're gonna have to bleep me here, but that was one of the games that I think that I've heard Greg saying "motherfucker" so many times in those in that half an hour of him trying to.
I was screaming. It's like,
yeah, I'm gonna have to blame the non-index controller.
There you go.
I don't think I intended it for it to be quite that difficult.
Oh my God, it was driving me insane. I was like, I got to get through this. I got to do it. The only time I've struggled that much on a stream was when I was playing Jack with the chainsaws in Resident Evil 7 on Madhouse mode with the gamepad.
Yeah. That's how we met.
That's how we met. Yeah, it's true.
That's how we met.
That was my very first stream that Van was on.
I was on his stream.
Oh my God. And he sat through that. Greg. What it was like 3 hours of me fighting Jack? Yeah. I couldn't beat him.
Well, he played on nightmare mode.
Oh, yeah, it is a nightmare, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's way easier with Prey Dog's mod where you could just swing the chainsaw at him. All right. We already asked about Valve. You already hit that. We talked about the challenges. Okay, so we've hit those already. So, do you have any other mods for Alyx in the works, or?
No, I think there's a couple bugs and glitches that I'm going to try to clean up with this project. And I think from here on out, I'm going to try to, I'm going to pay close attention, obviously, to what Valve is doing with VR, but I think I'm going to mainly try to improve my technical skills and just try to use the time of this is interim between Source 2 receiving, coming to CSGO, hopefully, and whatever else Valve is doing in VR. Just use this time to invest in myself and my own technical abilities and just try to catch my breath here coming off of this big project.
Why do you got to be so selfish, man? We want more mods.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to make more stuff for Alyx, but I think that Valve's commitment to the game is a little questionable right now.
Oh, I hate to hear this.
Yeah, I'm not certain that it's an investment.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because it's like I said, most of the time in this game, I was just like, this just feels like, is it a legitimate Valve production?
Valve.
Yeah. The attention to detail in every room, because that's one of the reasons it takes me so long a lot of times to get through VR games, is I spend so much time just gawking, just standing around and looking at everything, and just, you don't see things like wires just hanging out of a ceiling not attached to anything, or stuff like that. It's amazing. So yeah.
But the last stage where you see G-Man on the stairs, that also I was like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, I'm at an MC Escher painting.
Yeah, it's like something
or etching.
When you make us have that moment. I mean, you already have the team. Why don't you build a game from
It's a shame to let the team kind of wither away.
Yeah,
I feel that
build your own game company.
No kidding, dude. You've got the skills.
You have the skills. And you have the direction. Like you can be a game designer, and you know how to direct. You had a nice, amazing story. So
I think it's an option for sure, and I don't want the team to break up. But at the same time, like I feel like there's just so many big questions right now. Like what's going to happen with Source 2 and CS:GO? What's going to happen with Valve's next VR device? What is Valve's level of commitment to VR? You know, could we potentially team up with someone like Gary from Gary's Mod?
Yeah,
what they're doing in Sandbox. So I think there's it's almost like paralysis by too many options right now. So I'm
I get
kind of
that.
waiting for some kind of indicator, sign from God type of thing of where. And also, like I said, I'm using the opportunity to improve my own technical skills so that when a really exciting opportunity does come along, we'll be able to pounce on that with hopefully with the team that we've already assembled.
Nice.
Sweet. Okay, so I'm all out of questions. What about you, Rand? You got any more?
Yeah, same here. Like
Okay.
that one just came up.
Yeah. Do you have
So,
anything else you want to bring up or talk about, or people you want to shout out to, or anything?
Yeah, just shout out to the team. Very grateful for everybody that was a part of the project. And I'm very grateful, obviously, for the players that seem to have embraced the project and are invested in the project's success, and to folks like yourselves who have helped us spread the word about the project and pointed out that the ending's too difficult, and to continue to update and make improvements. So I really appreciate all the feedback and the opportunity to speak with you.
Well, and I want to point out that the ending on hard, yes, it earns its name, and that's the way it should be. I think because like with Alyx, the proper. The way I mean, even hard mode, I think is way too easy. So then I put in Combat Plus, which is that's pretty good. That really adds a lot of difficulty to the game. And I think there are people who are going to want that. So I think you should have that option to have like that just punishing hard mode. And I did play it through on just normal mode. And yeah, I mean that felt about right. That felt like just your normal average, Alyx play. So I don't know that you. Don't take me saying that no, even though there were times when I was fighting that boss, I was like, I think they need to rebalance this. This is like, this is insane.
That video, I think we need to just make a button where you just press it to win. Basically, that video was hard.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy, but
maybe we can link it in the comments so people know the you're referring to.
Yeah, there we go. I'll probably
you on the brink of insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just about lost a headset that day. All right. Well, okay, guys. That's going to be it for the show today then. Thank you very much, Sean, for being here. Everybody make sure that you check out the Levitation VR mod for Alyx by Fmpone and team. Thanks to your team too. You guys did an amazing job. It's so great to have new things to play in our PC VR headsets. So that's awesome. And make sure you stick around and hit that like and subscribe button. And if you have any questions, you have any suggestions of modders that you'd like to see, let us know, and then we can see about getting them on the show. And so anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Dr. Greg
Thank
out.
you.